Welcome and salutations to our glorious Ashes of Creation community. Welcome to our September development update. We hope everyone is well and safe. Thank you for holding off with us. For those of you who have been hanging out watching live, we had a little delay. As you can see, Stephen is coming to us from his phone.
I am so sorry about this, guys. I was not expecting to be in Vegas, and I had something last minute as an emergency pop up, and I had to come here late last night. I didn't get in till like 1:30 in the morning, and I was supposed to have the computer all set up, and then the Ethernet cable was broken. I sent a runner to grab another Ethernet cable, and then the connection port wasn't working. And lo and behold, the computer doesn't have a built-in a wireless network adapter. And it was just like a perfect storm of terribleness. And I am so sorry for the delay. I appreciate you guys understanding, and we're going to have a fun stream regardless. Hopefully you can hear me okay, and it's not too bad. I'm connecting with my iPad. So I am doing the stream from an iPad. But 30 minutes of this stream is going to be a pre-recorded video. So, it's not going to be too terrible.
Yeah, we'll be okay. And as you can see, we're going to, you can see our topics right there for how we're going to be doing things. So today we're going to be doing our quick reminders. We'll do our basic ranged attack update. I do have more reminders than normal today. And then also we have our character art update and studio update. And then of course we have a lovely Q&A from the questions that we pulled from our forums. So if you submitted forum questions, we have got some of those prepared. So with that, we'll quickly get through the updates. First and foremost, we have our question from YouTube. So how we do this is if you are a YouTube subscriber, you have the ability to leave a comment. Well, everyone does, but as a YouTube subscriber, we may randomly pull your comment and spotlight it. So all you have to do is subscribe to us over on our YouTube channel. If you're watching the September development update, when we put this up on YouTube, and leave a comment, you could have your comment selected as well for the next one. So this one was from our lovely friend Mindful K9, which said, I love MMORPGs for their size and world building. The social aspect is cool, but I prefer random adventures coming together because we all need to work together to get through this event or area we are all happening to stumble across. But I don't really like groups or guilds outside of that. So what will be any benefits for those who want a little more solo gameplay as well? So they're kind of asking, will there be options for people who want to solo as well as, they'll do the game event stuff, but.
Sure. It's a good question. The MMO landscape is of course filled with players who want to engage, excuse me, with finding new friends. At the same time, a lot of people come into MMOs with a group of friends that are already existing. And so you want to be able to provide avenues to both socially connect other players by creating challenges that require group efforts in order to overcome. And that's always going to be a part of the MMO landscape, whether you're a solo player or not. MMOs, by definition, are massively multiplayer. So that means it's not a solo game. We're not creating a solo game, but it doesn't mean that we don't offer gameplay that is solo-centric as well. It lives in addition to the social aspect of what MMOs provide. And so part of what we do in order to give that element of gameplay is we have quest lines that are devoted towards solo players. We have hunting grounds. Obviously, one of the benefits of being a solo player is you get to keep everything that drops, right? You don't have to share loot with a party or with friends. That's one benefit of being a solo player. But it's going to be more difficult to overcome challenges. And those individuals who are up to taking that additional level of difficulty are going to excel perhaps in their character progression a bit faster than those who are more group-centric. It's going to be a little bit of a roll of the dice there because there are loot tables, there are reward tables that accompany that. But it's important to note that from a content perspective, Ashes of Creation is looking to fulfill both that solo-oriented mind in gameplay as well as the group and social experience. And a lot of times those paths diverge. They move apart and they come back together. And that kind of process is going to be seen throughout the leveling in Ashes of Creation, where you'll have more opportunities for solo gameplay and some opportunities for group gameplay. And for those solo players who don't really care about finding a community to play with, but they want to have one when they need it, there's going to be a lot of opportunities from a dialogue perspective, in-game chat options. You can join as part of citizenships. There's a lot of pseudo factions there. Social organizations that give you an in to other players without the strong bonds that typically come with guild-oriented organizations, right? And I think that's a comfortable medium between the two.
All right. And one of the other reminders is that Stephen will be doing an AMA in October, so stay tuned for that. We will have some stuff up on our social. So if you follow us on all of our social channels, we will let you know whenever that is happening. And of course, we have our monthly cosmetic swap over that will be happening. That is for this set, which is the Order of the Giant Slayers. That will be scheduled for October 12th, 2022 at 11 a.m. Pacific. So if you'd like these, head on over. We always let you know when they're going to swap over on our articles as well. And a reminder that all of these variants all the variants made from these sets you'll see in game as NPCs, creatures, buildings, and things of that sort. So that's the exciting part. You're coming along with us on the journey of development.
And I am really excited to do the AMA. For those of you guys who aren't aware, that's an Ask Me Anything. It is typically done on Reddit, but we also take questions. Our top voted questions we'll probably take from forums as well. So it's going to be a combination of our Reddit and forums. And Margaret and the community team are going to be putting out more information about that in the coming weeks leading up to the date.
Yeah,
but if you
we'll discuss how that's going to work.
Exactly. And if you aren't already on our forums or on our Reddit, make sure to go there to get prep, make an account so that you can ask your questions that you want to ask.
Yep. And then we also have our dev discussion that is up, and I know a lot of people have been leaving feedback. This one is for our gathering and PvP, and specifically we asked you, artisan gatherers will be prime targets for combatant players, or they sometimes will be. With that said, what tools or activities would gatherers like to see to help protect their well-earned materials while out in the field? So definitely go give us your feedback on that, and we will have another dev discussion coming up about materials. So if that is something that you're interested in, definitely do so. And of course, we have an event system follow-up. So a lot of you gave us feedback on the event system, and now we have a follow-up question for you over there. Just head on over to our forums, and you can answer some of the questions that we had on that front. And of course, last but not least, if you are a content creator, we always get these questions in regards to when we're going to have a content creator program or how we're allowing content creators to join us. You can head on over to our content creator program and fill out the application. And we are currently in application phase. Once we switch over to invitation phase, we will let you all know, and we will be closing the application phase for a short bit of time while we reach out to everybody. It's a lot of people, so we appreciate all of you guys. And again, this is not a creator program that is based on numbers. We're not just being like only people with 1 million followers can join us. We want small creators, big creators, creators who do all kinds of different types of things, whether you're a video creator or a cosplayer or whatever it is. So if you are somebody who is interested in doing those things or is currently doing those things, it's more going to be about quality and consistency in your content. And with that, we will move on to our basic ranged attack update. So I'm going to toss it over to Stephen to give some preemptive details before we play our video.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I want to preface this video. And ironically enough, I did not actually, I know in the past I've double prefaced. I preface on stream and then you hear the same preface in the video. So I didn't preface it in the video either, which I guess I probably should have just done it in the video. But we recorded this yesterday. It is an update to our ranged, combat. Excuse me. And as is always, remember in context that this is the work up towards our Alpha 2. So with that in mind, it is not finished. There is still much more that needs to be done, both from a visual effects perspective, from targeting and UI, from the just general look and feel of movement and impact. However, this will give you a good indication of direction that we have taken since our Alpha 1 test last year. And, you know, something that's really important is you guys, and I've said this in the past many, many, many times, is feedback is important, but making sure you contextualize the feedback in the things that you enjoy about what you saw, as well as the things that you would look to see improvements from based on experiences and things you've enjoyed in the past from other games and their ranged combat. So in this video, we take a look just to set expectations. We look at two different types of ranged weapons. We look at a longbow and we look at a short bow. And both of them have very unique of feel, of style. One is less impactful on movement, the short bow. The other one is more impactful, but it packs a harder hit on the longbow side. It's also a first look that you guys have had at the Ranger archetype. And of course, we don't reveal and show everything of the Ranger. We don't want to do that and spoil what's to come with Alpha 2, but we pick some abilities that emphasize the role of a Ranger, right? That is mobility and survivability. It is heavy damage from a distance. It is the ability to ensnare and root. So you get to see some of those things. You also get to see an element of enemy faction, NPC enemy faction that we fight against. And you guys saw some of the concepts over the past few months. Margaret and the community team have shown you guys leading up to this. The Minotaurs. You get to see some of the Minotaur faction, their trusty side hounds as well that accompany them. And you get to see it in an environment that you guys haven't seen before, which is this foresty area in the Riverlands that lead up to a major point of interest called the Wreckage of Carfin, or Carfin Tower. And that is a big vertical dungeon that exists within Alpha 2, and it has some significant story. I also want to point out that you're going to see a little bit of updates to the UI. Colby, Jeff, Nate, Natalie have been doing an incredible job, and Drew, in helping to create our new style guide for what the UI is going to look like in Alpha 2. You get to see a little sneak peek of that with some of the HUD and some of the journal systems. But remember, it's important to give feedback here in Twitch, on the forums, on Reddit, everywhere possible. Tell us 2 points, right? What you liked about what you saw and what you would look to improve based on experiences you have in the past. And with that, let us take a look.
All right, we'll see you when we return.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live stream day with an awesome showcase of our basic ranged combat revamp. Excited to be here again, showing you guys Ashes of Creation and its current progress towards Alpha 2. I have joining me today two stellar senior designers on our team, senior designer Trad and Jeremy. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. Just looking forward to showing some of the stuff we've been working on here.
Oh, I know. It's always exciting. Jeremy, how you doing, buddy?
Doing really good. Really excited to be here. Really excited to show the stuff we've got this time.
Yes, and my first awe is, of course, the world. Just the unbelievably beautiful environments that the environment team and the design team have just come up with these ruins and this forest. I mean, where are we at right now, Jeremy?
We are in the Riverlands, which was the former heart of the Aelan Empire.
Ooh.
So we're among their ruins from a long time ago after the fall.
Yeah, and people saw some of these things in the Weather and Seasons showcase. So you guys might recognize this stuff, but the Aelan Empire, that was one of the largest, if not the largest empire at the time of the apocalypse, right?
Right. It was at the height of their golden age when the fall happened. So we are just standing in their ruins now.
And it is so cool. I always love environments where you have these ancient almost artifacts and just locations that you get to explore. It's
And one
really
of the big
compelling.
goals, is to make a living, breathing world that's an actual character of our game. Vera should very much feel like a character that has so much history and story behind it. They're like great fantasy worlds of the past and other franchises. Vera should very much feel like one of those that just hearing the name invokes all kinds of history
Yes.
and character and living, breathing, and actually a world that's been in trouble for a long time now, and the players are coming back to help
Oh,
rescue and recover that.
I love it. And I also love the fact that Chris Atkins threw in some slits for this elf's ears to come through. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
I feel a lot comfortable. The ears able to poke through.
Adorable.
They are adorable. This is such a great outfit. I'm loving the cape cloth as well. It's very cool.
Mhm.
So you were mentioning we are in an area that is relatively dangerous, right? This is these aren't elite monsters, right? But they are still deadly.
These looks like a Minotaur hunting party, war party that are investigating this area for some reason. It looks like some shaman have come down to this Riverland area. And they're checking things out.
And they have some like guard dogs with them.
They've got some drudgers with them, kind of like reptilian dog kind of things that are acting as lookouts and guards while they're looking around for things.
Oh no. Oh, I'm walking. Oh God. Oh no. Wait.
You're just gonna aggro this.
Oh no. Wait.
Pulling a few of them.
Hold on 1 second. Trad, what should I do? What items or abilities?
Spam 2 on one of them. Take that guy down. All right, that was quick shot right there. So quick shot is an ability that has 3 charges, and each shot does more damage than the last to the target that you're attacking. So you can kind of use it as an opener alpha strike kind of ability.
Oh no.
Just to drop somebody.
Do I have that 2 back again? The quick shot?
Yep. Yeah, we haven't done like
Woo.
full cooldown pass on this or anything, so you can pretty much just spam right now. But
You got that.
Oh, that guy pushed me. Oh God, I have 16 health. No.
drop it.
No.
The shaman are not something to mess with. They've got that charge.
How did we
They've got
draw?
that ability.
How did I grab so many?
They're paying attention.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, playing as a ranged player, you have to be aware of your surrounding.
I did not. I was not aware of my surroundings. Okay, you guys may notice that I'm not dying right now. And I would just like to comment that the stream would not be good if I died trying to fight these things. What am I using here, Dread?
That will be Snipe. So unlike Quick Shot, that is an ability that you can press and hold, and it kind of roots you in place. So it's you gotta like use that at the right time, but you do get a lot of payoff if you can pull off the whole thing. So the longer that you charge it, the more damage it does.
I need to get some of my health back. I
It'll work
apologize,
better.
stream. Let me just say that whenever we do these recordings and I am piloting, right, I have this very well thought out outline and plan about how things are going to go. And somehow something happens and it just doesn't work.
And
I don't know
It's
why.
like when Mike Tyson says everyone has a plan until they're punched in the face.
Right. Yeah. No plan survives contact with the enemy. So I turned on this cheat code, which doesn't let me die if I fall below 1 hit point. So every time you see me drop to 1 hit point, know that I would have normally just died there, and you guys can, take a shot of water or something.
Point for the Minotaur.
Yeah, point for the Minotaur. Okay, so by the way, you guys are seeing this is early morning here on the Varen Riverlands, and you'll see that there's a lot of weather effects that are happening right here. There's some There's some pollen because we're in the middle of spring, but it's also early morning, so we have this fog layer that's rolling through. Of course, the aesthetics of Ashes of Creation are very important. We've always said that game systems makes games fun, and the game environment and the aesthetics make it beautiful and make it immersive. So we double down on both of those. But Jeremy, talk to me a little bit about these Minotaurs. Who are these Minotaurs? Why are they here?
So these Minotaurs, well, prior to the fall, they were kind of just a nomadic, chaotic race. They're a race that really benefited when the player races left for Sanctus. So they, in the intervening time, they've gotten stronger. They've kind of found some techniques, some help in some ways from other entities that aren't friendly. So they've really got organized, got equipped, and they're kind of actually excited to see the players come back because they want some revenge. So they're looking for ways to. They have oral histories and things that tell of these people that held them down and hunted them, and they're brutally wanting to exact that revenge.
Can I? I'm going to cheat here again because I just want to go up to them and give people a look at what these Minotaurs look like in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So
the Terragor is one of those clans or tribes. This one's the Raincaller, who has essence that kind of evokes water. He has water abilities, throws water attacks, and makes shields of water bubbles around them.
This guy is amazing. Oh, I love the model work.
Eli's done an amazing job on these. And these are just a shaman. These are kind of the ones that are divine and have a little bit of a connection there. There's much bigger ones, much more even scarier ones, like the Marauders and the Berserkers and even the Khan, which we've seen called.
Oh, wow. Look at that. I'm sorry. I'm just looking over in the distance and I see this giant like tower structure.
Yeah, that's the Tower of Carfin under a curse that is causing a lot of problems for the area too.
Oh, you're right. Actually, I think if we approach up here, we actually cross over into the boundary of Carfin, the wreckage of Carfin, right? It's like science.
Correct, yeah. And Carfin was one of the great cities of the Aelan Empire, and it's now in ruin.
Ooh, there we go. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I see it. That, my friends, that you're seeing off in the distance is in Alpha 2, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeremy, tell us a little bit about the tower and what, just a little bit, nothing give away too much, but just a little bit about the tower. What is it? What is the tower from a player's perspective?
It was a focus of the mages and study of the Aelan Empire. Carfin was a city that kind of had a great mage population, so it had a university there. And things went bad there during the last days of the fall. They made some desperate measures in a really awesome quest series that Scott's written up and implemented and things.
Awesome. So it's going to be a pretty fun tower that is intended for many groups to exist within and fight. Now, Trad, question. What type of weapon am I using? Thank you. What type of weapon am I using here?
This would be the longbow. So you can kind of tell, like when you're shooting your basic attack, that the shots are a little bit slower but have more power behind them. I really like the model that Atkins threw together for this.
Oh, it looks so good.
Looks like it's of an Empyrean design. So one of the greater Empyrean bow makers of the past. Maybe someone's remembered the techniques to make it.
It looks so good. So now,
go and shoot something with it. Like, go ahead and hold the button down. One thing that we're playing around with this that we haven't done with our melee weapons is it has a contextual behavior based on if you're tapping the pressing the button versus holding it. So kind of like snipe, you can actually hold these attacks, and instead of doing just a rapid fire.
I'm sorry, Trad, 1 second. Something happened. These little birds just spawned right near me. and they're like eating on the ground. If I move, will they move?
I hope so.
Okay, let's see.
Let's find out.
Birds, how are you just gonna sit here and let me run around you? What are they doing? They're just they're eating, I guess. Oh no. Okay, wait, what do you want me to do with this weapon?
Hold your Q button and charge up an attack.
Houston, we might have a problem. All right, ladies and gentlemen, get your shots of water ready. We may be a little early. I'm so sorry. Let me see if I can.
Don't worry, you have God mode.
Perfect. Oh, I know, it's true, it's true. I just don't want to.
Give the Minotaur another point.
Oh!
Yep.
Whoa, what was that?
Charge.
Did he charge me?
He got you. He's hitting you with those water bolts.
Oh, that's kind of cool. So I can jump while shooting this. Now just imagine that I have a lot more health. Nobody look at the health. Don't look at my health. What are they shooting at us, Jeremy?
Those are from they're casting this water bolt, this really hardened water that's just slamming into you for force damage that hits. Yeah.
That's kind of cool. All right, Trad, I apologize. I am now going to appropriately engage from the correct
Get the jump on him.
positions. Okay, so something cool about the longbow. Oh, now they fly away. Look at that. The birds are flying. Something cool about the longbow is that as opposed to the short bow, you are able to actually hold and charge each of the basic attacks. Is that correct?
Yep.
And doing so, what does that do for the weapon user?
Currently, it's just a damage increase, but we can do all sorts of things with this later. Like if you're charging it up longer, then you can set up some kind of status effect combo. There's all kinds of things that we can do with it. But yeah, right now, it just increases the damage. And so, for example, one thing you could do is you could do 2 basic shots and then charge the final shot, and that would give you like a big spike of damage there at the end. So
Oh, that's
each
cool.
one can be charged individually.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And now we have some abilities that we talked about. These are from the Ranger archetype. Of course, we're not going to show everything that the Ranger has, but we are going to give you guys some ideas of the abilities in its kit. What is this first ability called? This is Snipe?
Yeah, this is Snipe. This is the one I was talking about earlier, where it's kind of like the basic attack, but a lot more powerful. You can hold this, and when you see that little flash there at the end, that indicates that it's fully charged.
That's a strong ability.
Yeah, you can keep holding it in case you want to wait for the target to get low before you bring them down if they're getting healed. All kinds of things that you can do, but after a certain point, it stops getting charged and it reaches max damage.
Oh, that's cool.
He's healing.
He's healing. Now what happens? Let's get into that environment where I'm getting chased by a few creatures. Hold on. Let's see if I can find a couple more, because I know there's another ability we have called Airstrike, which is kind of cool. Let's see.
Really cool.
So now let's say, for example, as the Ranger, I have these creatures and this melee guy is on me and I want to reposition. Tell me a little bit about what Airstrike does.
Airstrike does a lot of things. It moves the character in the direction that you're facing, and it rains 3 projectiles down in the path that you're going. And each of those projectiles does damage, and AoE, and also the targets temporarily. So you could think of this more as like, not quite an ultimate ability, but it's definitely up there.
Yeah, that ability is so rad. I love using it.
You can see it's
Yeah.
channeling nature essence to cause roots to come up and vines to grab the Minotaur and hold them.
And now this quick shot ability, by the way, that I see it has a debuff that looks like the quick shot icon on the target. What's that doing?
So basically, each shot of quick shot will increase the damage of the next application of that specific attack against the target. So it kind of encourages to unload all 3 of your charges for a big spike of burst damage, but that does come at the cost of each charge comes back individually. So you either have to wait a longer period of time to get that burst, or you can just kind of weave them in here and there if you want more readily available damage.
Got it. That's super cool. So I have here now a reticle on my screen. So we've switched from tab target mode, which is a point and click with the cursor or using tab to cycle targets based on proximity priority, right? And into this reticle based mode, which now you can see the targeting plate in the top is slightly grayed out. And we do that to demonstrate that that is a soft lock target versus a hard lock target. And what a soft lock target is, Trad, do you want to explain a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. So if you are in action mode and you don't have a target actually selected like you would in a tab target game, then it'll just smartly choose whatever target it thinks is the most appropriate for where your camera is and attack that target. But if you were to actually select a target, I think is it right mouse button in action mode?
Right. Right now, it's of course all of this stuff is customizable by the user, but if you press the right mouse button in action mode, it will hard lock the target, which means you can take your reticle off the target and it won't change. Correct, Trad?
Right.
That's awesome. Now we have another type of ranged weapon that we can show. Oh, and I can still, while in action mode, I can still tab to cycle targets as well.
Yeah, we really wanted to showcase a more tab-based combat here because in the last live stream, all of our melee attacks were more hitboxes, right? They didn't acquire a hard target, and so we wanted to show a little bit more of that in this stream. And so, right here, for example, like the target, you're not having to aim your reticle or anything like that. It's more what you, in line with what you expect of a more traditional tab target game. But at the same time, we still have abilities like airstrike and other things that we haven't even shown yet that are going to be more action oriented. So we can hopefully hit the sweet spot of having a nice combination of all that.
And it's more fun. I've played Rangers in EQ, EQ2, the great archer types in Guild Wars and Hunters and WoW. And when it's this mode with the reticle and stuff, it's just fun running around shooting these guys.
Oh, it is super fun. And I've switched over to the short bow now. So let me see if I can show off that short bow. Get into a good light. 1 second. I'll exit this mode. There we go. So now I have a short bow equipped versus the versus the long bow. And talk to me a little bit about the difference in the short bow, Trad.
Sure, yeah. The direction that we went with the short bow was a lot more, I almost want to say, acrobatic. Like, you can use this a lot more freely with the movement. It doesn't slow you as much. It's a higher rate of fire. Basically, this is the more mobile feeling, lightweight version of the longbow. So it's not quite as powerful because you're making some trade-offs here with range and attack speed, and I do think right now we're actually putting a higher crit rate on this one, so it's got burst potential. But these are just the kinds of decisions that we want the players to be making when they're selecting their weapon of choice. What do I value?
I love the movement of that. Yeah, I mean, it is a very different feeling, right? One, I'm much more mobile, being able to shoot and not have to sacrifice a lot of my movement speed like I had to with the longbow. So just from that aspect alone, it feels like a very different weapon. I'm also not able to charge. I'm holding down the attack, and it's just firing a bunch. You'll see that I can blind fire because I'm in action mode. That's why I'm like firing extra there. But it feels very different. And of course, it doesn't change the way you have access to your abilities. Your abilities are there regardless of the type of ranged weapon necessarily you're using, short bow or long bow. And then I don't have to have a hard target lock also now for the abilities either. They tie off of the reticle. And I know there's some feedback that we wanted to collect from players with regards to this demonstration. You want to talk a little bit about that, Trent?
Yeah, as always, every time we make an ability, we're pretty much always thinking about what is the right balance between restricting player movement for the sake of weight, getting the feeling of the weight, and that being able to animate the full body, all the good things that come along with restricting movement. But at the same time, we definitely don't want to be a game that makes it frustrating to attack and move at the same time. And a lot of people, what I think a lot of people love in MMOs is the feeling of agency and freedom in combat, and we want to retain that. So just as you see these abilities go off and get used in this environment, I guess we appreciate any feedback on how that direction is going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
also from the enemy side, asking on behalf of like Doug's encounter group, it's how fast is the combat playing? Is it too slow? Is it too fast? Does it feel good? The time to kill, or what you're seeing right now, or is it what players are liking? Do people like? And keeping in mind, these are solo ones right now. These are tuned more for solo fighting. These aren't elite group mobs, but for one-on-one type of fights.
Yeah, I like in the solo areas. This for me, this speed feels pretty good, given that I'm a DPS class, and these guys are particularly susceptible to rangers because they are mage class NPCs. But getting your guys' opinion on those things. Also the differences between the weapon types, right? We talked a little bit about the longbow. We talked a little bit about the short bow. Being able to kind of give us feedback on how you feel the direction has gone now. Is this the type of ranged combat you're looking for? Those of you out there, especially who are bow users and enjoy these classes, what is it about the games that you have played that you felt had good range combat in it, and are you seeing elements of that demonstrated in this type of combat as well? I can tell you that obviously seeing is one thing. In Alpha 2, those of you who have access will be able to give us kind of your feel feedback. Of course, that's not under NDA, so all of us get to watch and participate in Alpha 2 through watching others play it and getting their feedback and experiences as well. Another thing that I think is pretty cool that I wanted to talk about actually was these weapons and the types of skill trees that they have associated with them. Trey, do you want to talk to us a little bit about how these skill trees interact with the weapon?
For sure, yeah. Part of the plan with each of these weapons is they'll each have a unique skill tree associated with them to differentiate them not only in terms of feel, but also in terms of mechanics. And an important thing that we really want to capture in Ashes is the ability basically so the player can build their character, how they want, and that extends beyond just their class choice, right? So, for example, if I'm the ranger, I can spec into my short bow or I can spec into my longbow, and those will be two very different builds. For example, the short bow may specialize or have a part of its tree that specializes in applying bleeds, and bleeds might synergize with specific ranger abilities that the longbow might not necessarily synergize with. So weapon choice will play into what abilities and your type you're specializing in. There's just a lot that goes into it, and we're just starting to scratch the surface of that.
And you would also want to take into account the enemies you're going up against, what areas you're going into, what enemies you're hunting, and is it a player versus a monster? Players will behave very differently, and is a longbow getting the drop on them important? Are you spec for short bow for being dodgy and moving around them? You got all those things to keep in mind.
Absolutely. Well, guys, appreciate you joining us today to talk about this stuff. It is amazing that the world you guys are building, the mechanics here. I hope everyone in the audience has enjoyed the demonstration. Talk to us, give us your feedback, tell us what you liked about it, what you would like to see changed. Make sure you do so on the YouTube video and Twitch, on Reddit, on our forums, everywhere you possibly can. It means so much to us to be able to kind of reflect on what the community has to say about the works in progress we're showing you towards Alpha 2. Jeremy, Trad, thank you very much for joining. It is always appreciated. Hearts in chat. These guys are doing awesome. Yes, Purple Heart. These guys are doing awesome work, and I'm loving the progress, and I'm loving sharing with community. As I know you and everyone else on the team who make these streams possible enjoys it. And with that said, everyone, we will see you back on stream.
Thanks, everyone.
A good one.
Well, we hope you all enjoyed it. It seems like there's a lot of mostly hearts in chat, mostly happy. I know there are some questions and concerns that you all had, and I'm going to try to address some of them. We can't be here all day, so we can't answer every question, but it seemed like there was a little bit of confusion in regards to our hybrid combat system and how that's going to work. Basically, what are the advantages and disadvantages of using tab or action when it comes to being ranged, or, I mean, we showcased a little bit of that in the melee as well. But if you want to kind of address that, I think our hardcore fans probably know, but I think there's a lot of new viewers who are watching today.
Absolutely. So, part of what we're exploring with this approach of our hybrid combat is offering the player the functionality to utilize either tab targeting or a reticle-based action camera mode. There are benefits to each, and both of them are kind of providing the player what they feel most comfortable with playing as. All of our attacks are going to be stat opposed. Unless they're a templated attack, right? In which case, there will be certain bonuses and or stronger applied chances for certain types of CC effects to be applied, or potential, excuse me, or potentially evasion and accuracy aspects of it. These are all things that we plan to test throughout Alpha 2 to kind of see where the player base lives in those two options of their action or tab target based attack modes. The important part here is that this is still a work in progress, right? This is meant to give you kind of a look at where our approach has now been living over the past several months when it comes to combat based off of what we learned in Alpha 1, what player feedback has been along the way, and how we can create a compelling system of combat between these very different classes and weapon types. And that is something that I think, as you guys see now, our progress towards range combat, to me, it's feeling really good. I'm enjoying playing it. I like the feeling of getting in and taking these shots with these bows. I love the sound. I'm loving the environment. I'm loving the impact hits on the creatures. There's a lot of work still to be done on visual effects, on more sound, and kind of on these abilities and how they flow. But things are feeling fluid. They're not cumbersome. You're not having to stand still and be rooted in place. And you still keep a lot of the agency, even between tab target or action combat mode. Both of them are letting the player move freely throughout their attacks.
All right. And then I think from the video perspective, you did try to explain a little bit of this, but kind of a clear understanding of how the auto attack works versus the abilities and how you see those things intertwining, how you see people using the auto attacks versus the abilities. Obviously, the ones here didn't have cooldowns, as Trad said, but in the future they will.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's important to note that auto attacks in previous MMOs that many of us have played kind of serve as a filler between rotations. And as your rotations go on cooldown, you go to your filler auto attacks. That's not the intent in Ashes of Creation. Ashes of Creation has separate and bespoke weapon skill trees that you develop over time when you gain experience in using these particular weapon types, these weapon groups. And those skill trees provide a lot of versatility, both horizontal and vertical power progression. Sorry, do you hear the doorbell in the background?
Yeah, we all do. Everyone in chat's like, pizza's here.
I'm so sorry, guys. This is unintended and unexpected for me to be here for the stream. Yes, come on in. I'm sorry.
Just here's the check coming.
Yes, that's fine. I'm so I'm so sorry, guys. But anyways, the weapon skill trees are intended to provide a lot of synergy between your rotational abilities and the weapon type that you've chosen. And as you progress, you're going to be able to influence things like number of attacks, speed of those attacks, procs that occur on those attacks, status conditions that can be applied to the target based on these basic attacks. And then when you see those things proc and happen on the target, that's when you use certain rotational abilities in your class kit to complement those proc effects, right? So you're watching out, you might get a telegraph through animation. Maybe your character does an odd type of release on the weapon animation attack, and that tells you, ooh, I'm proccing on this attack. Let me now go use this ability that has a 30% upswing on power or damage because they're under a certain status effect that's granted by my weapon ability.
All right. And then we had a question from Baba Yaga, who is asking, will Rangers be required to carry arrows? And I saw a lot of other people asking about, will we have arrows, or will crafters have to craft arrows, things of that sort? Just in general.
So we are not tracking ammunition in the game. I'm not sure how much that brings to gameplay. Not much. Usually it's just a cumbersome tracking that you have to do. I kind of attribute it to similarly in tabletop RPGs when I have to have my players track their bolts or their arrows, how many they've used. And I used to be a real stiffler on the DM side of it where, especially at low levels, where they would fire an attack, release an arrow in D&D or in Pathfinder or something. And if they missed, they would roll a 50% chance of whether they could recover the ammunition.
I know, Stephen. I've been there. Yeah. I was one of those people. You did this to me.
Sometimes that's fun if the party's low, but no, I'm sorry. In MMO gameplay, it just doesn't make sense. It's not that interesting. We are, however, with that being said, we are thinking about unique buffs that can be applied to your weapons that are on a per instance basis of the attack. So for example, you might have a quiver that you can activate on a cooldown. And that quiver might apply some type of rider effect on the basic weapon attack that you have equipped. Or you might have some type of alchemical consumable that applies it to your melee weapon. Those I think are interesting because they add an element of horizontal gameplay depending on the adversary you're facing or the challenge you're up against.
All right. And the next question here is, are bows hit scan or projectile based?
They are projectile based.
And then we have, oh, go ahead.
You'll notice that in the video, when I switched to the action combat reticle mode, I was able to fire the bow as a blind fire. And I didn't need to have a target in order to do that. That's one of the differences between tab and action combat mode, is that you can launch projectiles in the action combat mode as a blind fire option. And if a target or if something moves in the way between the time of that projectile launching and impacting its either max distance or a piece of terrain or another target, it's possible that players might move into that projectile range.
Yeah, and you saw like the projectile sitting on like whatever it landed on for a little short bit there too, which is really cool. I forwarded it to show that case that as you were talking about it. So hopefully awesome. That lined up with what he was saying. And then we have from Valiant Salad, which is just a hilarious name to begin with. I love it. They asked if a ranger doesn't have a bow equipped, can they still use their airstrike? Like, would they still be able to use certain abilities even if they didn't have their bow equipped?
Some abilities will require that certain pieces of equipment are equipped. That's true for melee abilities like a shield bash requiring a shield to be equipped, or certain ranged abilities requiring a ranged weapon to be equipped as well. It's important to note that as part of the Ashes of Creation paper doll, you have a melee main hand and offhand slot, and then you have a ranged slot as well. So you don't have to switch between weapons per se. If you execute an ability that requires a ranged weapon, but you have your melee weapon out, it will automatically swap to the ranged weapon, use the ability, and then back to your melee weapon for your basic attack should you choose. And then you can select which weapon you want to have available, your melee or your ranged for the basic attack, and you can swap between those two even in combat. But they're still equipped. One other thing I want to point out about ranged combat and projectile-based action target mode is take, for example, a situation in a siege where you might be on top of a wall and you might acquire a target through tab that you see. And by the way, when you're in reticle mode, you can still use tab to cycle through hard targets. You have this differential between soft target lock and hard target lock. Hard target tracks the target when, even if you're in reticle mode, it tracks that target. You can use abilities against that target as if you were in tab mode. And if you have, let's say you're on that wall and you're shooting down at enemies who are just out of range, you can fire those projectiles off at the ground. And if they move within range and in that area, they'll be impacted by the projectile.
All right. And then It's No Me wants to know, can you swap the bow in between your combos? Like if you're doing quick shot and swap to a different bow to maximize mobility and DPS?
Yeah, so you can always hot weapon swap even in combat, but you can't swap your armor and gear, nothing that's in a hand or range slot if you're in combat.
All right. And then Nethery98 wants to know, how is a melee supposed to catch up to a ranger running away from them if they're full speed? So like if a ranger is supposed to be super mobile, what are the melee's options in order to catch them?
It depends on the melee user, right? Obviously, different class kits will provide different gap closers. They'll provide different mobility skills. They'll have lockdowns. They'll have chains to pull back. They'll have a lot of different things in the rotation, right? You know, that's part of what an MMORPG experience is. You're not just restricted to 3 or 6 skills. You know, you have a rotational suite, and depending on the type of challenges you face is going to help determine which of those rotations you spec into from your skill tree. If you're having problems against rangers because they're constantly getting away, then it's probably a good idea for you to spec into abilities that lock the target down, that give you mobility, or that allow you to have zone control within the battlefield.
All right. And then folks were wondering, do I have to have a target in my crosshair to use snipe or quick shot?
For abilities, it depends on the ability. If the ability requires a target, yes, you will be required to have a target even in the action mode. If the ability, however, is a templated attack, such as a line attack or a AoE attack, a cone attack, those will not require you to have a target. You can fire those anticipating movement of an individual or target within the zone of effect.
And then I think there was questions in regards to the bow and the longbow versus the short bow. Are there different ranges, damages? Like, what's the difference between the two of them?
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about our approach for weapons within Ashes of Creation is that weapons they're not just stat sticks, right? They have different feels, as was demonstrated both in the melee examples with the greatsword and the daggers, as well as now with the longbow and the shortbow. These changes can be pacing, they can be speed, they can be critical rates, they can be critical damage, they can be base damage values, they can be separate effects, like the longbow has a charge up on its basic attack, whereas the shortbow doesn't. There's more root motion in the greatsword than there is necessarily in the daggers. You know, the idea is because each weapon type has an associated weapon tree for progression, we almost want each of these weapon groups to feel distinct in the way they play. And because of that, it touches a lot of different aspects of the combat for them.
And I think the last one is I see a lot of conversation in regards to this is what, and I know you talked about a little earlier about what the benefits are for tab versus
Sure.
action. And I feel like a lot of people feel like tab is just easier. So why would I use, action? So I don't know if you want to kind of go into a little bit more detail about the benefits of one over the other.
So we talked a little bit about the ability to blind fire,
Mhm.
not requiring a target in order to shoot, right? That's one of the benefits. And the difference is,
And
the
what you
focus.
mean by that too is that you can shoot without having to have a target in regard for action combat, but that doesn't mean it's going to like beacon honing, go find the target. So keep that in mind, folks.
Right. So that that is a component. The other thing is, a lot of it can be play style as well. Different players prefer different modes of combat. And for a lot of action players, having that reticle, having the camera tied to the movement of the cursor or the movement of the mouse, that is an element that they want to incorporate. If you were to ask me, do we lean more towards tab or more towards action? In the past, I've always said we lean more towards tab targeting, but that doesn't mean there is not a play style of action that provides the user some benefits to it. Now, there are some downsides to it as well. And those downsides might be that if you're in a massive brawl, the ability to pick and choose targets that are far in the back line, that might be more advantageous towards tab target users because they're able to click. But the reaction time to acquire a target for a cursor versus acquiring a target for a reticle is much faster and less cumbersome because it doesn't require as many actions on behalf of the user, such as finding the nameplate, clicking on it to acquire the target, then activating the ability. Whereas with a reticle option, all you need to do is orient your camera towards that target and fire off the missile or fire off the attack. That is a component as well.
All
Is
right.
speed acquire target.
I think we'd be here all day if we answered all the questions, but we do have a forum thread over on our forums. If you go to forums.ashesofcreation.com, we do have a basic range attack updates thread over there. Please head on over there, give us our feedback. Stephen specifically is asking for things that you liked. So from looking at this video, what are the things that you like from it? And then also telling us your experience from other games or experiences in regards to ranger classes that you would like to see and experience in Ashes of Creation. And both of those pieces, we will be putting together a report and sending that over to our development team so that they can take that into consideration as they move forward. Obviously, they will make the decisions they want for the game that they're making, but we always like to hear your guys' feedback and take that into account when we're creating things and making sure that we're all on the same page in regards to what we're wanting to do. So with that, I think we're going to move on to the character art stuff, unless you have anything else you want to add, Stephen.
No, just everything you said, right? Providing that feedback is very important. Give us your thoughts, analyze the video, talk about the things you like and the things you dislike. Talk about, make sure to include both. It's very important that we understand where the strengths lie and where the feedback is important, right? So make sure you guys are doing that. We're going to be uploading this to YouTube shortly after the stream. I think you guys already did that, Margaret.
Yeah, we're prepared.
And that'll go live. That'll be in 4K, so you get to see the full glory of the map and the environment, and you can just see. I mean, really, it is awe-inspiring the talent of artistry that we have on this team, and it's always fun to see. Oh my gosh!
We just get the cacophony of noises from your hotel room. We'll move on to our character art update then. Some of which you've seen some of the things in game, but we will switch over there. So first and foremost, we have these lovely snake folk. This is the Najash tribe, which is pretty cool. Definitely check them out. I'm excited for you guys to see these when they animate. It's going to be really cool. They're in a T-pose, obviously. We show a lot of our models in these states. But yes. Very, very cool. This is something that Danny worked on, which looks awesome. I'm excited to fight them. You guys will have to tell us what kind of abilities you'd like to see them having. Next up, we have our living statue knight. And I have a couple different versions of this so you can see them, but this is from Eli. You can kind of see them falling apart too, the pieces of them, which is really cool. And then also when they're all combined into one piece. but
Sorry.
very
I'm
neat.
back.
Welcome back. We're looking at the living statue. We just finished looking at the Josh tribe.
Loving these guys. These will be a lot of fun. Did you talk about their placement and kind of origins?
I have not for this or these guys. If you want to go over that stuff.
So these are the living statues we're talking about?
Well, we went over the
Oh.
snake folks, and then
Okay.
also.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So obviously, as you guys know, the world is rich with history and lore, and part of this is enemy factions, and you're seeing with the Najash. There's some stories behind this that you'll experience in Alpha 2 with these creatures, and understanding kind of their origin, where they came from, where they inhabit now. There's a deep city that has been destroyed, but also preserved under a significant amount of magma. And it's really, it is a really fun idea. But these are examples of an NPC faction, right? So you're not just going to see, we talked about this in the past, you're seeing the models now. They're not always going to be cobras. Some are going to be rattlesnakes. Some are going to be, mambas. They're going to be different variants that are represented as part of these serpent races. And then lastly, is he working on this one? Oh, perfect. Okay. And then lastly, you see that the living statue that has essentially were once protectors that got turned into adversaries. And you'll be facing them as you kind of progress throughout the ruins of the ancient world that once inhabited Vera. And they're going to have some unique and interesting animations that almost look, my desire for these is that they almost feel a bit cumbersome in their movement, a bit stop motion-y kind of. I think that's going to look pretty cool. So we'll see how animation deals with that.
I love it. They look pretty sick. So I'm excited to see that come to fruition. Eli did a great job.
Oh, yeah.
And then we've got our zombie shambler, moving ourselves into the October realm of things. This is by Jinsey, which looks awesome. I believe I have a turntable for them. I do. If you don't like creepy stuff, I'm sorry. But oof,
Oh,
look at their
crazy.
tummies.
Yes. You can't have a good fantasy without some good undead. And these guys are definitely compelling, especially if you consider the atmospherics and the zone that they'll be placed, and the creepy nature of their surroundings. Also, as many of you guys know, we like to play a lot with ground based NPCs, having them kind of unseeable. And if you walk past maybe a grave or something, their hand comes out and grabs you. Those are fun.
Yeah. A little surprise, a little, shocker for you.
Yes.
And we have these ghostly armor folk, which I think I have images of the armors too, but very, very neat.
Yeah, these guys look good. I think, did Keith do these?
I believe Keith did them. Yep.
Yeah, these guys are pretty cool. You don't see it here, but their bodies that are spectral or ethereal in nature, they will have some effects that kind of pulsate, glow, and move to kind of show that more ethereal aspect of them. I think they're going to look pretty good.
Yeah, they already look pretty awesome. And then Priscilla, one of our newer artists, created the Sabletooth, which is the little cub from one of our previous sets. Very cute.
Oh, I love these guys.
Yeah.
Those are great.
So if you got that, this is the little pet that you'll get, and you'll see these in the world too. Sorry, go ahead, Steven.
Looks like a mix between a weird lion. It's got that longer body, or maybe it's like a liger.
It was kind of like going with the corgi, like short legs, but like the tiger body. That was kind of what I think. This is one I designed before with the withering set.
Yeah, I like them.
And then, of course, we had the shaman that you saw in game. Steven kind of like showed you a close up, but like you saw the concepts last month. The concepts were pretty sick, but then you see how good they look. Like the models are just badass. And then you get to see them in game with the lighting too. And our artist, as Steven always says, and I think we've reiterated a million times, just from concept to fruition, just look, I mean, it's stunning. So
Absolutely.
but I know sometimes it's fun to see the full 3D because it's hard to see it when you're in game sometimes because we're running around doing things.
I know. I tried to give a nice little close-up shot for it.
Yeah.
In the level. I cheated a little bit there too. I turned myself friendly with the monsters.
You switch sides. How dare you?
Now,
And then, of course, this is one of the shields. And I think there's a staff as well that Chris made. Yeah. A spear, not a staff. And then I think we have an image of, I don't have it in here. Then we're going to show you, we've shown you the Empyrean concepts. And I believe last time we showed you just the head model for them. But now you're seeing the model, the full, we're going to show you the full model for the Empyrean. So this is the female. This is the male. And obviously you'll have customization options with your characters. These are just kind of like the starting point for where we're going with them, the vibe.
yeah, there'll be, of course, you guys have seen their character creator in its work in progress Alpha 2 state, but there will be lots of customization options, many of which are race specific, like the types of tattoos and hairstyles, right? But there's a lot there. These are the base models. Chris did, I think it was Atkins, right?
Yeah, I think this is Chris. Yep.
Did a great job revamping these with Manny doing some of the concept and helping bring a little bit of stylization to the models, which he's done a great job with that.
Which you all saw before and give us tons of feedback on. So we've definitely been incorporating some of that. Next up, we have the Kalar. Speaking of Manny, these are concepts. So keep that in mind. These are concepts that we're showing for the next two. So this is kind of the direction we're going for the Kalar. Last time you got to see the Veyloon, which was kind of our first reveal of the new Veyloon look and Rankai and some of those things. So if you didn't watch that, definitely go check out our previous updates. We always kind of share a little progression as we go forward. But this is the kind of the direction for the Kalar, which is very different from the Veyloon.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is more traditional humans, right? That's present in the games we come to love and expect. And the Veyloon we talked a little bit about in the past is having a more Jinn ancestry that's going to be more pronounced in their models when you guys get to see that in the future. A little bit more arcane elements to them. So it's like a mixture of Jinn and human, which I think would be interesting.
Which they look beautiful. They're stunning. If you didn't see that, highly recommend going back and watching our update from last month. And then, of course, we have the Nikuan, and this is their male and female concepts. You've seen a couple different renditions of them. I know Steven has continually gone back and forth with the artist in regards to the new direction for some of these races. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about this, because this is a little different than what they've seen in the past. Again, concept.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've talked about it in the past. We wanted to take a little bit of a different approach. Manny's been doing a great job in adding some stylization elements into these player character races. And these are the types of differences we want to have between our two different dwarven influenced player character races. And there's a lot here that's inspired from Polynesian culture, which I think has been captured very well as part of the concepts that Manny's revamped. And it's going to be awesome to see these come into model form.
Yeah, they're looking really cool. So we have a lot of different varieties between all of our races. So we hope that you all have been enjoying seeing the progression of them. You're getting to kind of follow along the journey of creating these races. I don't think, most games you're not you don't get to see the progression and have feedback along the way and see all the different iterations of the races that they take. Whereas like here, you're actually getting to see that. It's a lot more work than you think. And then on top of that, you don't even want to know how many animations per every single one has to go in. The teams have to do so much work in regards to that when it comes to combat, because you have to think about the transition from when you're standing to when you go into combat, and then all the different moves that you're doing and the transitions between those. It gets a little crazy, but we appreciate you all being patient with us and following our journey. And we're really just trying to make a game that we're all going to love and play and enjoy for years to come.
Absolutely. And it's been, as you said, such a great experience having you guys along this journey with us. It isn't something, as Margaret said, that a lot of people have an opportunity to watch the development of in real time. And you guys can go back, part of the luxury of having this transparent development process is you get to go back and look at what they were back in the day versus what they are today and how they've progressed. And that's always a fun experience.
It'll be cool when we do each of the races, when we do videos for each of them, when we show like the first rendition of them back in like when you first started to now. It's going to be so cool to see the changes from them.
Every now and then I think of and I kind of storyboard in my mind out the journey from there to here,
Yeah.
and create that kind of experience as a video. And boy, is that going to be one crazy undertaking to make that and show everyone who hasn't been part of this journey with us, but will come when the game launches, that they get to look back and say, wow, this is where they came from. This is the iteration time. This is how things changed over time. And just to see that is really interesting, I think, is fun.
Yeah. And of course, we're going to talk a little bit about our studio updates. So I'll kind of hand it over to you, Stephen, if you want to talk a little bit about that. And then we'll get into our final Q&A from the forums, and we'll be wrapping up today's stream. So we appreciate you all bearing with us because it's a long one.
Yeah, the studio update's pretty short and sweet. We're keeping our heads down right now, working towards Alpha 2. There's been a lot of great progress on the design, engineering, and art teams towards that end. We picked up some good hires this month. We are continuing to have open positions on our website, which the community team posts updates for every now and then across our socials. Make sure to help us spread that word. And I think come the end of the year and the beginning of next year, we're going to have another significant hiring push again to bring on a lot of more talented artists, engineers, and designers on the team. And I couldn't be more happy with the state of development right now for the game. Things are in the best place they've been since we started this journey.
Yeah, you've been on a long journey. At the same time, it's like you blink and I've almost been here for 4 years. It's crazy.
I know.
I love it. Obviously, I'm still here. So if that's a good indication. But yeah, we have our Q&A. So if you submitted forum questions, your answer might be answered. But if it doesn't get answered here, we also do answer a lot of our questions over on the forums, or we direct you to where you can get the answers from. My team is amazing. Ryan, Cody do a fantastic job. Cody goes through every single question that you submit. So props to Vacnar. Give him some love if you haven't yet, because he reads every single comment in that thread. So first up, we has Jesper from talking about weapon animations. And the question is, how will animations work while dual wielding weapons of A, a different type, for example, an axe and a dagger, or B, different weapon speeds?
Yeah, so dual weapons will have their own animation sets. And most of those will be there'll be a limited selection of which weapons can be dual weapons, right? Players will make that selection. They'll create those dual weapons as bespoke single items that when equipped will occupy both the main and offhand. And then how we handle attack speeds is we author animations at a particular speed, and then we adjust that with a modifier based on whatever is influencing that either increase or slow down in speed.
All right. And then our next question is from Leoloni from the forums as well, and wanting to know about Summoner and archetypes. So Summoner has been said to fill in the gaps in a party's role composition. What exactly does that mean in practice? Are they capable of speccing to be pure DPS, pure heals, or pure tank? Or instead, are they supposed to be doing all three at a lesser level as needed?
It depends on the summon that they bring out. They will have a variety of summon options, and they will have supporting abilities that enhance the role of that particular summon, or that can hybridize the role of that summon based on the ability they cast on the summon, or support by casting on the target either. So it is something that is flexible based on the summoner. And then when you choose a secondary archetype as your total class, that as a primary summoner, that will influence which category your summons perform best as a role. So if you go with a secondary archetype for your class selection that's more DPS oriented, this summons from a role category perspective will be DPS summons. You'll still have the flexibility, but it won't be as strong as if you had chosen a support or a tank role, and the summon benefits you would have as a result of those secondary choices.
All right. And then Karthos from the forums would like to know about ships. In the weather showcase stream, which if you haven't watched, you should go watch it. Our weather system so far is amazing, and it's even crazier now, the stuff that they're doing. Like, please go watch it. You hinted at weather impacting ships. Could this also indicate that ships can have status effects, such as being on fire?
Oh, yeah, ships absolutely can have status effects. A majority of the time, those status effects will be conferred based on weapon types that are being used against the ship, or encounters that the ships are facing. Those can be weather-based or they can be NPC-based. And then in addition, weather can absolutely affect wind patterns at sea as well. And wind patterns provide the ship's sails or the ship's movement speed certain advantages in certain directions. So that kind of keeps the playing field dynamic, right? You're not going to be in a certain area of the sea and always expect that when I turn horizontally in the world, I'm going to move faster because based on the weather pattern and the wind that's present, that might change moment to moment.
Right. And then Zooks wants to know about caravans. What is the reason for requiring the destruction of a caravan by the attackers, as opposed to the attackers gaining possession of the caravan?
So it needs to be, to answer that question, it needs to be a bit of an even playing field. I've experienced games where you can take control of that particular vehicle. And while you can with ships, with caravans, we really want to emphasize this idea of not necessarily stealing the vehicle, but being forced to achieve victory through destruction. And when you do, you then have the logistical issue of how you're going to transport those goods on your own, rather than servicing the transport of that by just hijacking the opponents. There's also some gamification that can occur if you can just steal those things and take that caravan to a certain location. We need these to become stolen goods, so to speak, for a certain system. And as a result of that, you need to be able to loot the container and not necessarily turn it in. We also don't have a means by which players would turn in another player's caravan at a caravansary as a pit stop or as a final destination, because that would be a stolen caravan also. So we want to provide some level playing field for the caravan users who are transiting around the world, a requirement on the attacker's end to actually succeed at destroying it rather than ninja caravan per se. And that's, again, not to say that that's not possible with ships. Ships are a different vehicle type and have different rule sets as a result.
All right. Well, when it comes to caravans, you wake up and you choose violence.
No, you escort the caravan and be a friend. You can be a free trade and commerce across the world. You don't have to kill people.
But if you want the loot, no. Next up, we have Superheroes 6785, who wants to know about shipbuilding. Will we be able to furnish our ships similar to housing?
Will you be able to furnish your ships similar to housing?
Yeah,
There
if you have
are
like a quarter.
attached-
Like a,
Yeah, there are absolutely attachments that can apply to the ship, and some of those are decorative in nature. There are also slots that have utility aspects to them as well, but are also decorative.
all right. Interesting. I'm excited to hear about that. Because I think there's going to be a follow-up question to that would be, basically, would you have like a captain's quarter and you can put like chairs and stuff in there? Or is this more of like a figurehead that you can swap out and like weaponry that you can swap out the look?
Figurehead, right?
Yeah.
We are trying to stay away from internal compartments within the ships because that presents a whole different type of user interface and flow that can be a bit cumbersome and problematic, especially in combat and in closed spaces. So we're trying to stay away from that underdeck aspect and keep things all on deck for better readability on the player side.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. Hopefully that helps you guys out on the community side. And then we have OZ Jack, who wants to know about character progression. Is there going to be any form of dual specialization, allowing us to switch between two setups of skills, talents, augments, etc.?
Two setups of skills and
Yeah, let's say I'm a
Well-
ranger and I want to be more spec towards one thing, and then later I decide I want to be spec a different way.
save
Go
the
ahead.
comp. Yeah. That is a convenience component, right? We're giving you the ability to respec, so why not also give you the ability to save specs, so that when you do respec, you're not having to go through the monotony of finding the skills that you're trying to spec into. Yeah, that's going to be a convenience option that will be available to players.
Now, will this be something that is easily done? Because I know in the past we've said like we don't want you to be able to just change on the fly immediately.
No, you'll need to be in town for the respec, right? And that's we're talking about secondary. Excuse me. We're talking about secondary, but also your primary abilities that you respec into. Those will need to be in town as well. So either way, you won't be able to do it on the fly. You're not going to be out in the open and at a raid and I need to be this spec now and be able to change. It's going to have to be something that you strategically have chosen due to what you know is ahead of you out in adventuring, and you're respecing for that reason. But when you do, you'll have safe specs that you can spec into when you're at that NPC.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify because it was a little different than what we said in the past. All right, and then Drunk Ninja wants to know about coastal nodes. Will nodes located on islands be easily accessible at the start of the game, or will it be races like players running for players to gain access to ships to explore potential island node locations?
Well, you are able to swim, so you don't necessarily need it.
No running underwater. You'll swim.
Oh, no, you can actually swim. To answer that question, it's the same with all nodes, right? There are nodes that are going to be located at great distances from the starting locations. Some of those distances will be separated by water. And if it is a goal of some individuals to help seed that node's progression earlier than what might be located closer to the starting areas, then they'll have to incorporate strategies to direct player movement and heat into those areas so that they get a faster start than the nodes that might be located closer to the starting area.
Okay. And then Anarchs wants to know about stealth mechanics. Will it be possible for any player to hide their character's name and guild plate through the use of non-pay-to-win means? And just to reiterate to you guys, we have no plans of doing any pay-to-win things. Anything that is in our shop will all be cosmetic and
Yes.
not things that give you power or any benefit of that sort.
No pay to win, no pay to convenience. So to answer that question, there are some ideas that we have about disguises for characters that incorporate nameplates and guilds. There's also the same thing we for disguises of of caravans and ships, whether or not they're holding a full haul of goods, whether they can mitigate the distance between the notification area of a caravan moving past you or not. There are some ideas that we have about that, but I'm not ready to expand on it quite yet because we haven't vetted those designs.
Yeah, so stay tuned for Alpha 2 as we give updates on that, and of course add new things to the builds when we have that live, and give us your feedback as per usual. Next up, we have Schwan36 wanting to know about Mariner classes. This is specifically ships. By leveling a piloting Mariner class, will two identical ships have different speeds and turning abilities based on their pilot's level?
So the benefits of having Mariner expertise is not just related to activities you can do on the ships, but will also incorporate skills that become available when you're piloting ships as well. So there's a few things that Mariner classes provide. Interaction with attachments on the ship, driving the ship itself, utilizing the ship's components like furling the sails or not, as well as repairing ships when damage is taken, the speed at which you can do it, the health you regenerate when you do it. Those things all get influenced by your Mariner class skill. And the more you interact with it, the more experience you gain, the better you'll become.
All right. And our last question is from Lashing about seasons. Are ocean and underwater areas going to have seasonal changes?
Ocean and underwater areas will not have seasonal changes, no.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, with that is our final question from the forums. If you did not get your question answered here, it might be one that we already answered in the past. So definitely check out our forum post. Vacnar is always great about tagging folks and letting them know where they can find the answer. In some cases, giving you the answer. They put a lot of work into that. So please check it out. And of course, as reminders of things that we have going on, we do have quite a few things that we'd like your feedback on. So if you go to forums.ashesofcreation.com, you can check it out and give us all your feedback. We have basic range attack feedback that we're looking for. We have gathering and PvP feedback. We have a follow-up question. We have quite a few follow-up questions in regards to the event system. So if you have not gone over and posted in those threads, please do, because we will be compiling those shortly. So we'd love to get your feedback as quickly as possible. And of course, if you would like to help us build the world of Vera, you can head on over and purchase the Order of the Giants Slayer cosmetics. And those will be swapping over October 12th, 2022 at 11 a.m. to the new set. And with that, don't forget that we will be uploading this video, as well as we'll have the 4K video today, and then tomorrow we'll have like the full dev update video that will go up. But if you leave us a comment on the full dev update video and you're subscribed to our channel, you could possibly get your comment spotlighted for our next live stream. So definitely do so, because it's going to be a live stream and quite spooktacular. So you'll want to do so.
About that. That's right.
Yeah.
It's October.
Yeah, what you got to think of your costume, Stephen.
Oh, can I just be the same thing I was last year?
You can be whatever you want to be. And of course, follow us over on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all the places. We post almost daily a ton of great content. So if you would like to follow us, interact with us over there, we'd love to hang out with you and chat with you guys. Over on the forums and Discord, we're on there daily as well. So come chat with us, give us your feedback, and of course, we'll see you next month right here, twitch.tv/Ashes of Creation on our Twitch channel for another dev update. And we have a lot of things coming up next month and, announcements. I know people are excited about Extra Life and interviews and stuff. So stay tuned. Yeah. We will definitely be having some good goodies up on our social channels. So keep an eye out for those. And with that,
and once again, I wanted to say one last time, I apologize for the delay. Did not expect to be in Vegas for today's stream, but I'm glad that the iPad camera worked.
It did. You're a little. We only see you in a smaller, slim box, but.
I'm sorry, but I appreciate you guys' patience and of course tuning in. And remember, feedback is so important. Please, after the stream is finished, look out on YouTube. We'll host that 4K version of the video that you guys saw today. leave your comments there and give us your feedback. Remember what you saw that was positive and what you saw that you'd like to see differently. Those are two very good points of feedback.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. We super duper appreciate it. There's a lot of you today and a lot of new chatters, so we appreciate you coming in and joining us. And of course, thank you, Stephen, for your time and joining us, even though your schedule is crazy. And also, I don't even know how many people rang the doorbell. I'm sure someone's going to make a counter for that. How many pizzas did he order? No, I'm just kidding. Stay safe and healthy, and we will see you next month for a live stream that you will not want to miss. Toodles.
Bye, everyone.